Says meeting being live, press got it. Good afternoon, Harlem and Harlems of the world. I am Terri Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. Harlem Network News, as many of you know, is a new media platform. We started at the onset of COVID, and we are still here. We found it very, very important and appropriate that we start this network in order to assure that Harlem and the Harlems of the world were informed. At the onset of COVID, many Black people were walking around Harlem and brown people talking about, I can't get it, I'm Black. And some of that has to do with the fact that they did not see themselves on the media. So very critical, and Harlem Network News is the voice and drumbeat of Harlem. We are on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Clubhouse, HarlemNetworkNews.com, and soon to be Manhattan Neighborhood Network, so that we can ensure a broader listenership. This is very, very critical. Today, we have some very special guests with us. And before we move forward, I do just want to say a few words of condolence. We are just a few weeks out of the massacre in Buffalo, massacre in Texas, massacre out in Oklahoma, and it continues. They are, trying to, or we, because it's not they, but we are setting up to, laws to stop the gun violence. But it is a position of Harlem Network News that pushing the AKA 47 law so that you have to be 21, that doesn't make any difference. It doesn't matter if you're 40. That kind of weapon should not be allowed at all. And many kinds of weapons should not be allowed at all. So all the hoopla about pushing it to 21 really is quite meaningless in the scope of what is going on. So we just send up prayers for all those who have lost lives, the family members, and obviously gunshot and violence is an enigma in our community at this time. I have lost my own son, who was 43 years old, to gun violence on November 5th, 2021. I have on today the youngest daughter of Minister Malcolm X, Alhaj Malik Shabazz, and Dr. Betty Shabazz. And as we know, Minister Malcolm lost his life to gun violence in November of 1965. So this is something that permeates particularly our community, and the assassinations that are happening are just unconscionable, okay? And still like riveting through all of us. I am a member of Harlem Mothers Save, which is here in Harlem, over 50 mothers who have lost their sons and daughters to gun violence. There are those organizations in Queens, Jackie Rowe Adams. We shout out to her for starting that organization. She lost 2 sons to gun violence, and that's why she started it. And we celebrate her. I know that she just celebrated her retirement from the Department of Parks for 35 years. She's an amazing and incredible, incredible woman. Songstress, so many things, but an inspiration for us all. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Sister Malaak Shabazz. Please just briefly introduce yourself, and also Sister Dawn Jones of NAM. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, hi, and thank you for having me. I'm number 6. I'm the youngest daughter of Dr. Betty Shabazz and Malcolm X, Alhaj Malik Shabazz. I say my mother first. Women hold up more than half the sky. I'm a former international human rights activist at the United Nations. Since COVID, I've been on hiatus. But one of my organizations, NGOs that I was involved with, UNIFEM, which was microeconomics for women and eradication of violence against women, we always say that women hold up half the sky because we give men the benefit of the other half, but we generally hold up 80%.
Okay.
Let's get real, but they're egos. But I've been in corporate America, but left and did my continuing the legacy of my parents via the United Nations, dealing with international human rights, specifically dealing with the African diaspora and women.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Sister Malaak. And Sister Dawn Jones, please introduce yourself and tell us, who you are, whose you are, and all the great things you do as an activist in our community, and how you and Sister Malaak have come together as sisters. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Dawn Jones. I'm a national board member at the National Action Network. And I would also like to take a time out to shout out Jackie Rowe Adams on her retirement from the New York City Parks Department after 35 years of service. As you stated, songstress, president, Local 299. I actually attended her retirement party on last Friday, and it was fabulous. And she's someone that I go back with. She actually sung at my father's memorial service. My father died of cancer back in 1999, and we had the memorial here in June of 1999. And back then, I did not know she lost 2 sons to gun violence, because her personality, you would have no idea. And just like Terry, looking at you, you look so beautiful and radiant. I love your jacket. And you now have lost a son to gun violence. So my condolences to everyone who's lost children and parents to gun violence. We're in the month of June, is Gun Violence Awareness Month. I've been wearing orange. Today I just have on nail polish. Malak has on lipstick, but we're here in support of all families who've lost children and family members to gun violence. Jackie is a good friend. You're a friend. I lost a friend who I'm still close to, brother James E. Davis, the councilman shot at City Hall, a gentleman that I was with. That was shot like a stray bullet went through his home in the Bronx. So I've lost friends and family to this, since this gun violence. So I just thank you so much for having us on today. And what brought Malak and I together was the 75th anniversary of her dad, Malcolm X. They were celebrating at the Adam Clayton Powell Jr. State Office Building. And at that time, I was the chair of Manhattan Community Board 10 Arts and Culture Committee. And we were having meetings at the Adam Clayton Powell Jr. State Office Building. And then Pat Peak from PJ's opened up PJ's Lounge. And I asked, could I host a birthday party there? And I called it a Libra celebration. And Malak said, I'm a Libra. And then, the party started growing, and then we started venturing out to the Cotton Club. And right now, the last 2 years, we've been at the New Amsterdam Musical Association. We're there to celebrate their centennial.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. And I just want to say how much I appreciate you, Dawn. You are one of the hardest working women in Harlem. You also are so consistent and so methodical with everything you do. And in a world that has so much chaos, to have that kind of person in our midst is just amazing. So I appreciate you greatly, and I appreciate you and Malak coordinating to come on Harlem Network News to tell a story that may not be known to everyone. And what we do know is that we have young people who really, because of whatever happens in the schools or whatever, that really don't know our history. So a part of what Harlem Network News is dedicated to is to assuring that our history, our legacy, our heroes and sheroes are known. So it is very befitting that we would be here today to talk about the legacy of Dr. Betty Shabazz. Now, if you would just, Malak, say a little bit, and we're gonna play a clip so that people can really understand. But if you could say a little bit about the legacy of your parents, the story of your parents and you and your siblings, because we don't want to assume that everybody knows who Malcolm X, Malik Shabazz is. So if you would just share the story as you know it, as you want it to be told, what the legacy is, and then let us know why is it so critical that we begin to know your mother, celebrate her birthday, her legacy, and nationally and internationally. Why is that so critical, please?
Well, my mother was 28 with 4 children, pregnant with me and my twin sister. But prior to that, most in the clip you're going to you're going to show, most people don't understand that she was an undergrad at Tuskegee Institute. They never mentioned Tuskegee. She really didn't talk about Tuskegee too much because she traveled on the bus from Detroit to Alabama and saw a lot of strange fruit hanging from the tree.
Wow.
It was very devastating for her. So she never really discussed Tuskegee that much, but she was undergrad at Tuskegee, then New Jersey, Jersey City State College. And then they bring up Brooklyn School of Nursing, and then UMass Amherst, where she ultimately got her doctorate. But while she was in Brooklyn School of Nursing, she met my dad. Well, a friend said, you have to see this Muslim minister, come hear him speak.
Okay.
And she saw him speak, and the rest was history. But a lot of people also don't know that my father was teaching health science and hygiene to women at the Nation of Islam. It was a man, that was my father. And when he met her and she was in nursing, she then took over and they developed a relationship outside of Harlem, privately, and then ultimately got married. But she also was an adamant educator, and she had 3 degrees before she married my father. But then back then, you became a housewife. But we were fortunate enough that she had already had her master's by the time she got married. So when my father unfortunately transitioned or was assassinated, she was able to go back to work and take care of 6 crumb snatchers.
Okay. Okay.
But was very adamant about education, especially for the girl child. We couldn't go out unless we read a chapter, and gave her an oral report. My first one was Carter G. Woodson at 7 years old.
Okay.
And most adults don't even know who Carter G. Woodson is. Shame on them. But in any case, she was very adamant about the girl child being educated, because in a lot of countries that she started traveling, young girls weren't allowed to go to school. And she had 6. So she was going to make sure that we were educated and at least continue passing on education. There's many scholarships in my father's name, but it was because of my mother. No one else did it. My mother did it. My mother made sure that people understood his legacy, and his legacy was not perverted. She made sure of that. And I just want to switch really and fast forward. For all of those people of color who want to go to medical school, we have a Malcolm X scholarship because of my mother at Columbia School of Physician and Sciences. It's in perpetuity, 10 candidates every year, split $500,000 and an apartment in Manhattan, which you can't even get.
Okay. I love it.
But that's part of the deal. And we've graduated over 400 doctors under the Malcolm X Scholarship at Columbia Medical School because of Dr. Betty Shabazz. Because she had 6 daughters who didn't want to go to medical school, so she was going to have a doctor somewhere.
Okay.
But you have to be a person of color. Because in scholarships, out of 100%, 50% go to white people The other 50% go to all minorities, and white people can take that too. So this scholarship is for us, by us, and only for, and that's it. You can't be white and say, I've been discriminated against. Like Bakke did in 1978 in California. And it didn't stay only in California, it went all the way to the Supreme Court, that this white man was saying reverse discrimination because Black and Hispanics were getting into medical school and not him, because he felt he deserved the right. Well, my mother said, absolutely not. You know, if one drop of Black blood makes you Black, then you better find it. And that was Dr. Betty.
Okay, I love it. For those of you who are just joining us, this is Harlem Network News, and I am Terri Wisdom. And today I'm honored for our conversation to be about the legacy of Dr. Betty Shabazz, the wife of Minister Malcolm X, El-Haj Malik Shabazz. And I have here with us today their youngest daughter, and that is in the person of Sister Malaak Shabazz, and she's here with a sister friend and activist, Dawn Jones. Malaak, if you would just share a little bit about, we're gonna play a clip from the Essence Award, but when did that take place, and what was the criteria that your mother was given the Essence Award? And also give us background. Knowledge is power. So what is Essence? What was Essence? What is the Essence Award, please? Thank you.
The Essence Award, it was honoring the people of color, women, especially women of color. We often are not being honored. We are a speck in the mix, and then it's everybody else, all white women. And Essence is basically honoring Susan Taylor. Decided that was the first year that it was televised on NBC. Oprah Winfrey and the Honorable Denzel Washington, I will say, because he's from my hometown. We're Mount Vernonites. Hosted, and they chose my mother as the first person to be honored globally. Okay. And the essence of a woman in the African diaspora, politically and education, health-wise, that was the pity of my mother. And so they chose her as the first person to be honored globally.
Okay, I think that's incredible. We're going to play that clip. I also, as we know, there are just a few degrees of separation among us, but I was speaking with my partner, Mr. Ruby, and he shared that he met your mother at the university in Ghana when she had come over during the doctorate time, and they had quite a robust conversation about the family and, you know, just all the things that, you know, she was dealing with and wanted to do. So that's how small our world is.
That my first country my mother sent me to was Ghana. I went with Operation Crossroads Africa. Okay. Operation Crossroads Africa is precedes the Peace Corps. And as hypocritical as the Melanin Challenge people can be, including presidents, Kennedy approached Dr. Robinson and said, we would like for you to expand this organization so we can make it national. So he created, a brother created the Peace Corps, and Kennedy rescinded, backed up and said, well, we're not gonna get quality white people to join. So he gave it to Sergeant Shriver. So Sergeant Shriver, his brother-in-law, everybody thinks created the Peace Corps when it was a brother, Dr. Robinson.
Yes.
So they need to, people need to get that straightened out. It wasn't Sergeant Shriver, it was a brother. And so my mother chose to send me to Africa for the first time with Operation Crossroads Africa, which Professor Smalls, Dr. Jeffries,
all right.
Both Jeffries, Amina and Leonard,
Mm-hmm.
we've got to put the sister in there, of course, his wife, who's older than him, but whatever. my mother chose to send me for the first time there. And that was in 1987.
Okay.
And I've been going back ever since.
Right.
Except my last trip was 2019, pre-COVID. I haven't left Manhattan since COVID.
Okay.
Not going to either, but anyway.
Very important. This is Harlem Network News, and it's important that we get our history because I believe when you're saying the Crossroads to Africa, that was coming
Operation Crossroads.
Operation Crossroads, yes.
OCA, yes.
And was that coming out of one of our ministers, Church of the Masters or Robinson? Can you give a little background?
No, Dr. Robert Johnson.
Okay.
No,
excellent.
he wasn't a minister. No, he was not.
Okay, excellent,
He
excellent.
was an educator.
Okay, okay, okay.
And he was a Garveyite and Africa for Africans, you know, let's all get back to our roots.
Okay.
But he started it and Kennedy jumped on it. John F. Kennedy jumped on it and then took it from him. But we continued.
Okay.
You know, I hate to say it, Negroes go to the Bahamas, conscious Africans go to Haiti. You know what I'm saying? We go to Africa, we go to Haiti, we understand our roots. Now, we're not just going on vacation.
Okay, very important, very important. Thank you for the knowledge and for the sharing. I'm going to share.
Nothing wrong with the Bahamas, but I'm just saying.
I hear you. I hear you. It's about knowing our history, knowing our roots, and really working to make for change. Very important, positive change. I'm going to share the clip of the Essence Award, and I think it really speaks for itself. And then after, we will be able to have a little more of the discussion. But I think, as we always say, one picture is 1,000 words. So let me share this clip. Thank you. Just a minute, we're coming to it. Are we seeing and hearing?
We're seeing Denzel, but not hearing anything.
Okay.
Equivocal commitment to her family.
Oh, we're hearing.
Betty
Great.
Shabazz is a woman of great strength and courage, a role model for millions of women who find themselves alone, raising their children without a father, making their way without a husband. Betty Shabazz was still in her 20s, the mother of 4 girls, and pregnant with 2 more when her husband, Malcolm X, was brutally gunned down before her eyes at the Audubon Ballroom in Manhattan. That she was able to hold her family together in the aftermath of such a tragedy is exemplary. Betty grew up in Detroit, Michigan, the only child of her adoptive parents. It was a sheltered upbringing, according to her. When it came time for college, she went to Brooklyn State Hospital School, nursing, where she received her degree. It was during this period in New York that she went to hear a young Muslim minister speak. That minister was Malcolm X. She was very impressed by Malcolm. He introduced her to a whole new way of thinking, not just about himself, but also about the global condition of our people. Their respect for one another grew, and eventually they were married. Malcolm knew he could count on her. She worked hard to be a good wife and a good mother to their children. And when Malcolm was suddenly and violently taken away from her, Betty felt she had lost a part of herself. Suddenly her life changed. She was alone now. Well-meaning friends suggested that she send some of the children to live with relatives while she pulled her life together. Betty would have no part of it. She knew she had to hold her family together. With steadfast resolve, Betty not only single-handedly raised 6 daughters, she went on to earn her doctorate in education from the University of Massachusetts. Today, Dr. Shabazz is director of situations at Medgar College. Betty Shabazz is a portrait of courage, an inspiration to single mother, and the greatest evidence of her strength and determination is found in the character of children. They joined us tonight, Betty. They're here to tell you how special they think you are. Please welcome Atala, Kabila, Iyasa, and Malik Shabazz.
To our dearest mother, my father's brown sugar, his apple brown Betty. On behalf of your children, Mother, on behalf of our children, thank you for all that you have stood for, not for the masses, but for those crumb crushers in your house, those loud, rumbling, defiant, independent youngsters that you instilled strong will in. You have represented for us, your daughters, undying strength, tenacity. You stand for the epitome of womanhood, Mom, motherhood, and though it may not show, the seed has been planted. And all that you gave to us on behalf of your undying love for our Father, who is absent, though present spiritually, you have won. Don't work too hard. You don't have to stay so busy. We are here with all arguments, all that fuss, loving you always. Forever yours, your children. I frankly don't know what to say. All of these women standing behind me who think that they are my parents. May I say thank you? And I can think of a day when I was faced with the responsibility for raising my family, and my parents who loved me and who always wanted me to be at home with them did not prepare me to take care of myself, let alone 6 little girls. It was good people who reached out to me and who said, lean on me. And in their humanity, that reached out to me and my girls. And I thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you for that. I think that says
Good morning.
volumes.
During the month of
That
May,
says
many people will
volumes,
commemorate the birthday
and,
of Malcolm
just
X.
give me a
In the
moment.
years since his life was ended by an assassin's bullets, his image has become.
Okay, so I'm speechless. Do you want to share some of what that experience is, what that meaning is, what that essence of continuing the legacy of your mother, and then if you would share some of the things, other things that she has done, you know, her doctorate, her deanship at Medgar Evers College.
I'm just, every time I see that, how she was a very humble person. She could have been, what she accomplished in life was a lot, but she held herself back and was committed to the African diaspora and the girl child and education. She was a very humble human being. Oh, wow. Every time I see that piece, I just have to pause and check myself and my ego, because she was a very humble human being. However, with globally respected in her humbleness, especially in the women's movement globally and the girl child, because we are often, even now, globally not respected. And being a Black Indian, which she was, she was adopted by African Americans, but she was Black Indian and Islamic. Those three things, she had to stay strong and persevere and make sure her 6 daughters were not discriminated against. And unfortunately, as Dawn knows, and being an activist, it's not just the young men that are being attacked, it's the young women as well.
Absolutely.
My eldest sister, Ambassador Shabazz, she's in Kentucky. Breonna Taylor, I mean, she's not the only young woman. We need to start talking about the issues that are dealing, especially young Black women. You know, we talk about the young men, but we don't talk about the young women. And society is dividing the men and the women apart when it's happening to both of us. It's not just the young men, it's the young women too. And we need to understand that it's happening to both, not just one. And that's what my mother was trying to address about the young girl child. But it's happening globally.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing and expounding on that. This is Harlem Network News, and we are here today in conversation to continue the legacy of our beloved Dr. Betty Shabazz, to begin to celebrate her her deeds and her birthday nationally and internationally. And we're here with the youngest daughter of Dr. Betty Shabazz and El-Haj Malik Shabazz, Malaak Shabazz. We also have Dawn Jones here with us. And as you said, your mother was an extremely humble person, strong person. Your family certainly has endured a lot. And our condolences are for all, from the loss of your father to the loss of your nephew, to the loss of your mother, your sister, your twin sister. There's so much that your family has endured and still sustain greatness and time. So in terms of legacy, let's speak about your mother and the Medgar Evers College, and then segue to her relationship, as you say, with the 3 M's, with the widows of Medgar Evers and Dr. Martin Luther King, and the work that these 3 women did together. Question.
Well, mass media, white media, melanin challenged media, distorted the relationship between Malcolm, Medgar, and Martin. A lot of people don't realize that Medgar Evers' eldest daughter, Rena, was my mother's goddaughter.
Okay.
Coretta and Merle are auntie. Bernice, the youngest, grew up with Ilyasa, number 3.
Okay.
Ambassador Shabazz, Atala, my eldest sister, and Yolanda King had a theater company stepping into tomorrow, 15 years. I was in touch with Martin III a lot at the United Nations.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
You know, we all interacted. The wives of the 3 M's, Medgar, Martin, and Malcolm, Malcolm, Martin, and Medgar, are booked for a 2-year international tour to discuss the 3 men. My mother died. She succumbed to burns of a fire. And Auntie Coretta and Merrily said they couldn't do it without her, so they canceled the tour. But they would have already been globally booked. That would have been probably the most powerful tour ever. The wives of the 3 M's. To understand the real legacy, the real story, not the diluted, melanin challenged version of what history is miseducating people on those 3 dynamic men. Then Coretta died. The only one who is still here is Auntie Merle. She's not doing well at the moment, but she can't speak. She won't speak without her 2 sisters. She just won't do it.
That's a very powerful story. This is Harlem Network News. Sister Malaak Shabazz, is there any recordings or documenting of the tour that they had? And also, I know I missed it, but I would love to be able to see that. I know that there was a play that your sister Ambassador Atala Shabazz and also Yolanda King did about their fathers. So that speaks volumes. So
my elder sister, Ambassador Shabazz, does have that documentation. I do not.
Okay. So
she does.
We hope and we pray that in the future, because these are all such great parts of legacy, such great parts of history. And as you said, and oftentimes, and that's why Harlem Network News is so important, oftentimes our history and our stories are distorted or not told at all. So the significance of what you're saying today is extremely important.
Like my elder sister right at the moment is on the executive board of the Muhammad Ali Foundation in Kentucky.
Okay.
And a lot of people aren't even aware about that relationship. There are a lot of athletes and other activists in the 60s that all were together that we don't see in white news, that supported each other. We all supported each other. We were all there for each other. I knew who was in my house. Alex Haley is my eldest sister, Ambassador Shabazz's godfather. Gordon Parks Sr. is my second sister's godfather. My mother was godmother to Nina Simone's daughter, Lisa Stroud, and Rena Evers, and so on and so on. We knew who was there. My mother is godmother to Ashley and Dominique Sharpton. Reverend Dr. Al was also instrumental in the Shabazz Center being put together. He was one of the main activists because a lot of people didn't want the Audubon Ballroom to become Dr. Betty Shabazz Malcolm X Memorial Educational Center. We had people on both sides, black and white, fighting against it. But we still had the strength of the community and strong activists who would not stand down and who were there supporting Dr. Betty, because Dr. Betty was still holding strong and making sure the legacy of her husband, El-Haj Malik Shabazz, was remembered and not perverted.
Okay. Well, we thank you for that. And when you speak about the center, and I know that you were saying that Reverend Al Sharpton of National Action Network was instrumental in rallying the community to assure that the center was built. But if you could just expound so those that are watching who maybe weren't even born understand that your father was assassinated at what was the Audubon Ballroom that sat vacant for many years. And then there was this push that came from your mother and the community to memorialize this center and have it a place where people could come and understand and remember. If you could just expound on that, please.
Oh, and also the street namings, that was, it was under Mayor Ed Koch. And also the Honorable Percy Sutton,
Okay,
who was my father's attorney.
all right.
There were many activists. New Jersey, it wasn't just Manhattan or Harlem, it was New Jersey. It was a whole collective. But basically the ones in Harlem, especially Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend Doctor, excuse me.
Okay.
I want to be correct.
Yes.
Sorry. You know, he was the bulldog. He wasn't playing around. But he also rallied a lot of the community. And then legally there was the Honorable Percy Sutton, of course, and among others. I'm eliminating names, so I apologize. There were many, but those are just the ones that are in my life.
Yes.
Immediately, that I can just come out and say automatically. Yeah.
I know when we did our pre-talks, you spoke about Uncle Jimmy, James Baldwin, and some of the others. So, you know.
Oh, right. Of course, James Baldwin. Spike Lee is no James Baldwin. I just want to put it out there. I just had to say that. He did not write X. James Baldwin wrote X. He was the last person hired. Anyway, Gordon Parks, Sidney Poitier, Harry Belafonte, absolutely. He's the reason why we had a house to live in. Bella Abzug, who is an advocate for women at the UN. We ended up growing up in her house, Cora Weiss. So there were Black, White, Asian, Yuri Kuchiyama, the only Asian woman who was a member of the African American unity, the group that my father started, because her parents were interned in the 40s, you know, as Japanese. So she was civil rights as well. Geez. The original Black Panthers, not the new ones that act like they are. They were there. Gosh.
This is all history. This is all legacy.
The original Black Panthers were there. The new ones, I don't know who they are. They wear a t-shirt. It's a little disrespectful, but the ones that were actually there fighting the fight, not only with my father, but also with Martin Luther King down south. Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, as you would know him, Americans would know him. You know, all of those groups, they followed my father and Martin. There was no dispute. 2 weeks before my father was supposed to speak at the UN, he spoke at Congress. And when he was leaving, they wanted him to go out the back door. And he said, I'm going to go out the door I came in, and bumped into Martin. And that was the first time that they saw each other. Either Martin was in jail or my father was in Africa. And there was a junior photographer who started taking photos because my father and Martin were like, hey, wow, homeboy, what's going on? You know, pounding, you know, what's up? The senior photographers saw it. And so the picture that people see of my father and Martin posing was not the original picture. The original picture was the one of, it was a candid photo that the junior photographer took and showed that they were homies. You know, they were like, hey, how are you? What's going on?
Mhm.
But what frightened the government was that you only, being an NGO at the United Nations, all you need is 2 countries to support you and represent, give you support so you can speak to General Assembly. My father had 13.
Wow.
Was unheard of, and he was going to speak against the human rights violations that the United Nations, the United States had committed against people of color. But what scared Hoover was the fact that he had 13 and not just 2. What scared Hoover was that when he went to France to speak to on behalf of the Afro-French students, de Gaulle put him on another plane and got him out because the CIA was going to kill him in France, and they didn't have de Gaulle's permission. And he was dealing with independence of Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco. And he was not going to allow the first African-American to make Hajj to Mecca be killed in his country on his watch when he's dealing with Afro-Euros, African Muslims trying to get independence from France. So that caused a problem between the US and France, which a lot of people, they don't teach that either in history.
Thank you. Thank you.
They don't teach that either. De Gaulle said, not on my watch. So it wasn't just the Nation of Islam and Farrakhan. It was a year and a half that they tried to assassinate him. And it didn't work outside the United States or in Africa, or Europe and Africa. It just did not. So they got some Newark folk to come over to Harlem and do the deed. Let's get real on that one. I'm just saying.
Okay, this is all critical. This is all important. And as we know, this is Harlem Network News, and our stories are often not told or distorted. So you speaking truth to power is extremely important. We're nearing our close, but I wanted you to just speak a little bit about your mother's relationship to Medgar Evers College and what she stood for there. And then I'll ask the next question so I don't do multiple.
Right, well, she's the reason why it's the only historical Black college in the state of New York. That was under Daddy Cuomo, Mario Cuomo. 2, she could have taught anywhere in the world, and she chose to speak and educate the African diaspora, and chose Brooklyn and Medgar Evers. Brooklyn and Medgar was in her heart, and the African diaspora, for us, by us, especially she starting her education at Historical Black College, Tuskegee, then ended up at Jersey City State, then Brooklyn School of Nursing, where she met my dad, and then getting her PhD at UMass Amherst. But it was always about for us, by us, teaching us, and especially the girl child, but really the person of color and our history. She sent me to Africa at 21. And I said, Mommy, what is Africa like? She said, I'm not going like you. She stuck me in the bush with $400 for 4 months. I was like, what did I do wrong? I apologize. You know, I went to private school. But I learned. She said, if you come back with $20, I'll take you shopping. I came back with $20.25.
All right.
But I'm just saying, at 21, that was the proper age for me to go. At 15, even though I was in private school, I did the Model United Nations, represented Norway. Who cares about Norway? Well, turns out Norway was the thugs for Sweden, who now that I'm an international human rights activist, I know the 13 countries who divided Africa. I know what I didn't know then, but I knew the importance of what Norway was. They were the thugs for the Swedish Empire. Tiger Woods' ex-wife, whatever. What in Ottoman von Bismarck, November 84, February 1885, took them 3 months for these 13 countries to divide up Africa. So they got sick of Napoleon acting stupid. But I never knew at 15, and then at 21, which would then bring me to where I am now, and how I can let everybody know who did what and when. And they can't deny it. And because my mother was anal about us reading and being educated, I read everything. So I know what you did. And being at the UN for 27 years, it's like having 3 masters and 2 PhDs, because I was able to go in country and understand what was going on. And my mother did that for me, Dr. Betty Shabazz, educating the girl child.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. And I'm just going to ask one more question, because I remember you saying something, if you'd like to share about the UMass experience, and I believe it was Dick Gregory and some of that, if you'd like to share that, the lectures. I might be brain fogging.
No. When she was getting her doctorate, she was in the same class as Bill Cosby, and the only 2 Black families who lived in Plymouth, Massachusetts were the Cosbys and the Gregorys.
Wow.
We stayed a weekend with the Cosbys only. After that, we stayed with Dick Gregory, who had 10 kids. And me and my twin sister were just a piece of corn, cracking it in half. His wife said, absolutely. I mean, she had her doctorate as well. Dick Gregory's wife also was brilliant. But he also had 10 children. And he was also adamant about education and Black history, more so than the Cosbys. Bill Cosby wasn't Black since I Spy and Robert Cole. It is what it is. But we stayed with the Gregorys, and it was like being in college as well. But fun school, and with his humor. But Bill, I mean, this was around the time when Dick Gregory, it was right after he ran for president. Okay. So that was the first person.
Empowering.
Yeah, well, that was our first Barack Obama. You know, we remember him running, and we were like, "Oh, Black president." You know, we were in children's television workshop. We were in childhood education, but that was Dr. Betty. and Auntie Coretta and Auntie Marley Evers. I was blessed to be raised around that time. I don't know. It's unfortunate with these children of color now are being miseducated even by their own roots. They're not being taught properly, except for partying, unfortunately. Whereas we read our history, we knew who we were.
Well, we have to bring that time back. And on that note, if you would like to interject a few words, Dawn, and then I want you, Sister Malaak, to tell us why and how we can celebrate this birth date of your mother, her legacy, and what some of the next steps you think are. And Dawn, you can chime in on that as well.
Yeah,
And
I'd like
start
to say,
here.
you know, I think almost every one of her family members that you mentioned that are here in the city, I think I've been to all their services, her mom's service, her nephews. You know, I pretty much we've basically been almost prior, we were not in the same circles, but as I'm sitting and listening, just say, for instance, the case that I work on that I continue to follow, even if other people don't follow, Alberta Screw, when we speak of no-knock search warrant and the girl child, even our grandmothers, Alberta Screw, Eleanor Bumpers, you know, we women, and something that we were speaking about on Friday night on the way from Jackie Rowe Adams' retirement party, the president of the Coalition of Black Trade Unions, who I met during the Screw case back in 2003, brought me home. And we were speaking about domestic violence. So what happened is the young lady in the car that he was with got mixed up with Gun Violence Awareness Month. I mentioned, oh, well, Stephanie McGraw was there at Jackie Rowe Adams, but this month is specific to gun violence. You know, we're against, it's anti-violence, we're against gun violence. So as she spoke about the woman and the girl child, that's what I was sitting here thinking about. And, you know, her mother definitely leaves behind a great legacy. And I mean, like I stated earlier, I probably attended all of the services at the Dr. Betty and Malcolm X Shabazz Center between the death day, February 21st, and the birthday, May 19th. And I you know, Malaak is here. She's welcome to stay with me as long as she wants. You know, she's going through difficult times, but I'm hoping that with me being, you know, her support and going around to the different events, and her day that she plans to come out is June 25th. She's gone out to eat a couple of places, but I mean, as far as going out, she's usually an outgoing person, but she's in a circumstance right now. But June 25th will be the day that she plans to come out. We actually have hair appointments on the same day.
Okay.
Hairdressers. So, you know, we just been really building a friendship, and you know, we'll just continue. And anytime that you need us, we are certainly here for you. So thank you so much for having us on.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And Sister Malaak, in closing statements, why and how should we remember your mother's legacy, and how can what are your thoughts in terms of us moving forward to celebrate the birth date nationally, internationally, and keep the legacy of your mother as well as your father alive? And how are your siblings and you working on that? What's happening?
The only person I would be consulting and working with, and I am working with, is my eldest sister, Ambassador Atala Shabazz. Nobody knew my mother better than her.
Okay.
Ambassador Shabazz is amazing. There's Malcolm, Betty, Atala, and then there's the rest of us. That's the way I see it. So she's number one. It's Atala, it's Malcolm, Betty, Atala, or Ambassador Shabazz. And then me, I'm the baby, continuing the legacy.
So very interesting that the elder sister and the baby sister are working collectively to make that happen. And can you just give us a little background on Ambassador Atala Shabazz, ambassador to where, what, how, just because it's important our stories be told. Thank you.
She's an advocate for the eradication of violence against women in Belize and Costa Rica.
Wow. Okay.
And she speaks multiple languages. I speak Combi, I'll give you my change back. My eldest two sisters, Kabila is number 2, and Ambassador Shabazz, they're the ones that are multilingual. They went to the United Nations International School. So they both speak multiple languages. The rest of us do not.
Okay. Okay.
We read books,
Okay.
but as far as language,
Okay.
only the oldest 2 are multilingual.
Okay. Okay. And how is the final question? How is the center, the Shabazz Center, doing at this time?
I'm not really sure. I'm not involved.
Okay. Okay.
My third sister is.
Okay. Okay. But the center exists and it's right there.
Yes, it does. Yes, it is. Yes, it does. At the moment, I'm not involved.
Okay. Okay. Very well.
I haven't been involved since COVID.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. So closing words for your father and your mother, Dr. Betty Shabazz, and what is it that you want to see happen to keep the legacy of your mother alive?
I'm working on that with Ambassador Shabazz.
Okay. Okay. So please keep us posted.
Yes, stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned. This is Harlem Network News, and you heard it first here. I'm Terri Wisdom, and I've had the honor today to speak about the legacy of Dr. Betty Shabazz, which also, of course, is connected to the legacy of El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, which she kept alive. And of course, there's living legacy in her children who are amazing. And you can see that in the person of her youngest, and that is Sister Malaak Shabazz. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll stay tuned. Anything that Harlem Network News can do to help you to get this date set. What is the date of your mother's birthday?
May 28th.
Okay, May 28th. Great.
And let me just say, today's what, the 12th?
Yes.
Today's the 12th day of her tragedy. It was 23 days. June 1st to June 23rd, she endured in Jacoby. Today's day 12.
Okay.
So I'm kind of in that at the moment.
Okay.
But
Oh.
it happened on June 1st at 2:30 in the morning. And she succumbed to her injuries June 23rd.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a time all of us remember, and it was a pain for our entire community. For all those days that we prayed, for a miracle.
Yeah, it wasn't going to happen. 95% of your body burned is 95% of your body. I endured a fire. I am grateful to be here.
Okay.
So, but she's with my father eating grapes.
I love it.
And getting a foot rub.
Well deserved. Well deserved. Well.
Yeah, and they're buried together.
Ah, how beautiful. How
Yes,
beautiful.
very beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, she's buried on top of it.
Okay. I love it. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we'll keep the history going. And this is Harlem Network News. And today we are lifting up Dr. Betty Shabazz, the wife of El-Hajj Malik Shabazz. We celebrate her. We celebrate the family. And we know that she stood for education and was a most incredible mother. Again, amazing against many odds, and definitely stood for education. And Harlem Network News is your home anytime. So thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
an amazing show, and we're honored and continue the great work, and we will continue it with us. Thank you, Sister Malaak, and thank you, Dawn. Harlem Network News, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and we look forward to you sending us your stories, donations. We're in the process this month, which will be celebrating my birthday and doing a big fundraiser and opening.
Happy birthday.
June 26th.
Nice.
So we look forward ever. So thank you. And this show will rebroadcast at 7:30 on YouTube. So if you missed it, you can check in. All right. Have a great and blessed day. Harlem, on our minds forever. Thank you. The Mecca.